Welcome to the Healing Pod. I'm Megan, a licensed clinical psychologist.
And I'm Jessica, a licensed clinical social worker, and this is our journey of navigating anxiety as we learn to take up space and create an environment where we feel that we can belong.
Join us together as we learn not just to survive, but to thrive in our anxious brains.
This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional therapy or medical advice. If you are experiencing any mental health concerns, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional or healthcare provider. Remember, your mental health is important, and seeking personalized professional help is key to your well-being.
And welcome back. If you look at Jessica today, you will see she has been replaced with a Kasie.
No, I haven't. Megan, it's me. It's Jess.
No, Jess isn't a ginger. And
In your
Jess isn't-
house. Coincidentally, in a different room of your house.
Yeah, Jess is in Florida. You're in my dining room.
Touche.
So this is my wife, Kasie, and you have all heard about her,
Hello.
but she is pinch hitting for Jess today because Jess got hit with the tornadoes surrounding Hurricane Milton and is still trying to piece everything back together, including her work life and her barn. So I know I put a link in last week's episode notes of her post about just how she's doing. And if anyone has anything extra to spare for her, I will add that to this week's as well.
Jess is a truly wonderful human being. Please take care of her.
We love Jess. We really do. She deserves all the help. But,
Yes.
I get to talk to my wife today, so that works nice too.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
Nah, I come to you out for all the time.
As Loki once said.
I mean, Loki was right.
It's true. Clearly you are. But I am happy to sit in and share whatever wisdom maybe gleaned from me.
I appreciate it. I really do. So I wanted to talk with you about ketamine. So how do you feel talking about drugs?
I'm a big fan, personally, of the legal variety of drugs. Ketamine is the most recent drug that I have tried to combat anxiety and depression. So I am happy to share my experience with it.
I love it. So I know we talked a little bit about it. I think that was actually when we were just playing around on TikTok and not actually recording, but we did mention it. So I know when you got into this, I looked at a lot of the history and stuff too, but what is your understanding of what ketamine is and what kind of brought it about to being used in medicine and for psychology?
So for someone who has been using ketamine for maybe a year now, does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
My understanding of it is probably not as precise as it should be. The way it was explained to me by both you and the counselors that have walked me through the process is that the ketamine, to put it simply, allows your brain to rewire itself to build new mental pathways so you can break out of those negative thought patterns, those negative habits, and basically process trauma without really even being aware of it. Your brain kind of does this work on its own. In addition to all of the feelings you feel during the actual sessions, your brain kind of fixes itself.
Yeah, just really very fascinating. And so ketamine is a drug. It was originally created in the 60s as an anesthetic. So we used it, we used it on my horse when we got my horse gelded, which if people don't know what that is, I have a video. So if you're getting unsolicited photos online that you don't want to see, I have a video using power tools that you can send back to those guys. It was very fun.
riveting
awesome.
content.
Literally a testicle flew through the air.
Yeah. Ketamine is still used pretty regularly in animal sedation. I don't know. I assume it is no longer used for people in that way. I don't actually know, though.
I'm trying to remember how recent that story was. I know it's still used because I heard
No kidding.
pretty recently, I think. It works. It works really well. It's dissociative. You're just happy.
Yeah.
Aware that things are happening and you're like, yeah, okay.
I suppose
horse,
there's
you're gonna graze. Yeah.
I suppose there's a benefit to, I'm sure some people are not comfortable being completely knocked out and not remembering things that are being done to them. And I understand and respect that.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's definitely it has its good uses, and that's what it originally was. And from what I can tell, it kind of went through the 60s drug craze, but it wasn't really researched or looked into until starting in the 90s. And then they finally got more of the randomized control trials, your gold standard of let's see if this actually does something in the 2000s. So early 2000, they started doing those. And it's it's one of those ones where I love it and I get annoyed with it because right now it's a cure all. It'll cure
Yeah.
everything, it'll fix every single problem that happens, and that always makes me cringe because nothing cures everything.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
I mean, it might make you feel good in the moment, but it's not actually going to fix anything if it's not, it's not magic. It's not.
no. You can't just do the shrooms, you gotta do the work.
I
Just
guess. I mean, it's a bit rude, but yes, it is true.
it
You can't
is.
just do drugs and expect everything to instantly better. If that were the case, then all of the antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds I've been on throughout my life would have helped.
Mhm.
But it's, medicine isn't magic,
It's
and
not.
it doesn't stuff like this doesn't work on its own. You do have to do work outside of it if you want to see real lasting results.
Mhm. Even for regular antidepressants, anti-anxieties, any medication, if I'm working with my client and they're being prescribed this, I usually describe medications as giving you the space to do the work. It's
Yes.
supposed to give you enough mental resources and enough energy to actually do the work for whatever it is.
Yes. And because I work with dogs professionally, I see a lot of owners that are hesitant to put their pets on like anti-anxiety type meds. And I tell them, just like with people, it's not going to work on its own, but it gets them to a level where they can accept help and do the work, and you can do the work with them.
Mhm. And historically, there's been a lot of times, especially with Adderall, especially with Ritalin,
Mm.
where instead of having that mindset, we have tried to make medication take away all the problems. So I don't want to see ketamine go in that direction either, because there is some good research. It's hard to do a true randomized trial with a medication like this because you know when you're high,
Yes.
you know if it's working or not. You really do. And so there is always going to be some level of placebo effect. But even I pulled some random numbers. So even if we're looking at that, like the trials they did. So if you're looking at an antidepressant trial, you have like 36% of the placebo side will say, no, I got better. And 46% of the antidepressant side says, no, I got better. So there's
Hmm.
an effect there. Antidepressants do help.
Sure.
Ketamine is at 71%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So even if we're
Wow.
saying half of that is placebo, or more than half because you know you're on ketamine, that is
Mhm.
still a very strong number for a quick response.
Yeah, like I knew that the numbers were good and that there was a lot of research behind it. I'm surprised to hear what high number that is.
Mhm. And it is quick. So a typical antidepressant, you should know within a couple of weeks if you're having a bad reaction to it, but it can take months for it to build up
Mhm.
in your system and to get the right dosage and to see, is this helping? Ketamine, it's hours. If
Yeah.
you're doing an IV, you will know as soon as it's on. If you're doing the lozenges, the losange, I can't say that word.
Lozenges.
Thank you. Lozenges. I cannot say that word. Don't
Too
ask
weird.
me to spell it. Left
No,
me. I can't spell that. No, but
I would
it
never.
takes it takes a little longer, but this is still we're talking hours to days instead of months of time waiting for that relief. And when we're looking at one of the biggest things they studied it with is that treatment resistant depression. So that heavy depression with intrusive suicidal ideation. You can knock that out in hours instead of locking someone down and saying, all right, well, we're going to put you inpatient for a month to see if these medications get your brain back on track. That is huge.
Yeah.
The amount of
You
relief.
So even after my very first session with ketamine, and they always start you out at a very low dose because they don't know how you're going to react. During the session, I felt like I didn't really feel that much. I woke up the next morning. I physically felt lighter. I felt like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, and it was so startling to me to realize just how much physically I was feeling. It was amazing, and it's only gotten better since then, but it was a genuinely night and day difference after that first
Mhm.
session.
I think, like, looking at it from the outside, you couldn't always tell when you were falling into that and just the folding into yourself and how much it affected you and how much it creeped into everything. And then it's like suddenly everything clears up and I have you back. And it's
Yeah,
you. It's the you that I know. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
yeah.
it's I don't I think it's, it's that, frog in a pot of boiling water. I don't notice it because it happens so slowly. But as soon as I wake up the next day from it, it's, oh my God, how have I been living like this? What have I been like for the past however long? And
Mhm.
I'm kind of on more of a maintenance program now. It's once a month instead of every week. But as soon as if I start to feel myself fall back into that funk, I will do a treatment and I will be back to normal the next
Yeah.
morning. I will be ready for the day. Even if I didn't sleep particularly well that night, I feel ready to take on the day and to
Mhm.
do what needs to be done.
And it literally is that fast. It's a, oh, you're starting to worry me. Do we need to do something? And then the next day it's like, oh, there you are. Okay, we're good. We got this. Like it is that quick of a turnaround and that noticeable a difference. Which is
Yeah.
pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, and I will say I have been dealing with some level of depression and anxiety for a good chunk of my adult life on and off. I have not been suicidal for a very long time. I don't want to either undermine or overplay the symptoms of depression I feel. I'm able to get through my day just fine. I'm still exercising, maintaining personal hygiene, all of that. But I just feel that heaviness in my head and on my shoulders, and nothing excites me, nothing makes me happy. It's just, yeah, anyone who's been depressed knows what that feels like.
Mhm,
So I'm just trying to give a realistic picture of where I'm at day to day and when I need to pick me up.
mhm. Yeah, like, it's not, "I can't get you out of bed, I can't get you to do anything," but it's,
Right.
you're laughing at the dogs, and that's the only thing that makes you laugh and smile. You don't wanna play your games, you don't wanna talk, you don't wanna anything. Food, you don't care. It's like, "Whatever, if you put it in front of me, I'll eat," but, I don't really feel like it. Like, it's just that level that you get to that's like, I don't wanna go back there. We spent our high school in that state. I don't wanna go back there. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm good. Now that I have known what it is to be happy and to have a life that I genuinely enjoy every moment of, I can't go back. I can't
No.
do it.
Not worth it. Mm-mm. Yeah.
No.
And it is interesting because there are the 2 different sides of how it's working because the one side of it, like you were saying, is that neuroplasticity and that rewiring your brain. And they talk about it, dendritic growth is the words I use. Like it's allowing your brain to make more pathways and kind of freeing up some of these resources so your brain can use that energy to learn and to do things because that's such a thing with depression is you're so shut down you can't see beyond this habit, this rut I'm in, this pathway I'm
Yes.
in. You can't do anything different, and this allows possibilities. And so if you
Yeah.
practice them, yeah.
Yeah, when I have my treatments, I will take the ketamine, I will be under, they have that nice music that by not by the
Binaural.
thing. Yes, the specially made music and soundtrack, and you have your eyes covered and all that sort of thing. And once you're done with that, you are supposed to journal so you can kind of work through whatever came to mind, whatever you're feeling. And it has surprised me the things that have come up in the middle of my treatments, things that I haven't thought about for a very long time, but I clearly needed to process because I had a very strong emotional reaction while I was journaling and kind of processing and getting it out of my system. It is very surprising. Each session is very different. Some are much more emotional than others, some are a bit more introspective. It really just kind of depends where I'm at and what I seem to need that day.
Yeah. And then just how I know you're saying like your sessions now we're doing about once a month instead of every week. Like how does it stretch out after that journaling time? Like what do you notice after that fact?
So, some of my sessions are a bit more productive than others. Some I just don't know, maybe I'm mentally not, maybe I'm just not ready to work through something. But on the days where I feel like I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to work through, I get it all out and I will be writing so fast that I can barely read what I've written afterwards. My brain is processing so much. So I will journal until I kind of run out of steam, and I will wake up in the morning and it's like my brain has still been processing while it
Mhm.
sleeps, because I will be following a train of thought. I'll go to sleep, I'll wake up, but I'm like 4 steps forward.
Mhm.
But my brain knows that it did those steps like unconsciously almost, if that makes sense. Like it's still working when I'm asleep because I do my
Mhm.
treatments right before bed typically for this exact reason.
Yeah. So it's kind of lets you get to that state. And I know the brain does a lot of processing at nighttime. That's why we dream, is try to sort through information and put it away somewhere and make sense of the things that we're running through and thinking of. So it does that already. And just adding this extra, hey, here's this thing, and we brought it up, and you can think about it from this different angle. You can think about it with these different perspectives, be they whatever the music and the visions and everything induced, or just having that sense of relief as you're looking at this thing and going, okay, here is this thing, but I'm not reacting to it the way I've always reacted to it. What else can I do with it?
Right. With the program, when you're going through it, they tell you it's very important to, get yourself in the right mindset and set intentions for the session. You need to be actively thinking about, what am I looking to get out of the session? Because this is therapy. This isn't like a party drug. I know that ketamine is often used that way, but for me, this is medicine that I am taking. This is therapy. This is work. So it is important to approach it that way, with a not too much of a productive mindset, but with the, here's what's been bugging me. How should we approach thinking about this and working on it?
Mhm.
And sometimes my brain wants to work on that, and sometimes it doesn't. It wants to think about something else.
Mhm. But still letting you know the spaces that it wants to connect into and what it wants to work on each time. And the intention guides you there, but I think sometimes our brain's like, no, you need to focus on this thing.
Yeah.
This is what's
And
coming up.
yeah. And I have been surprised by the things that have come up in sessions, things that I always told myself, no, I'm over that. I don't think about that anymore. But oh no, 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 no. You were just ignoring it. You weren't done with it. You were just
Mhm.
pretending that you're fine versus actually being fine.
Mhm. And that's something that we do. That's something that anxiety pushes you towards. That's something that, well, no one else is talking about it. No one else is bothered by it at the moment. It's not directly in front of me. Can I just leave it be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm very guilty of that. If I don't have to deal with something, if I think I can put it off on future me, then that is exactly what I'm due, because I'm only capable of handling so much at a time. So if I can put it off and just pretend that it's fine, I absolutely will.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's nice having it's nice having something that doesn't let you get away with that, but it isn't like shoving it in your face and shaming you for not thinking about these things. And like it's just your brain working. It's just a medication. It's not someone lecturing you about, well, aren't you haven't actually thought about the answer to this and I need you to talk about this with me. It lets you just kind of backward slide into it.
Yeah. The phone call is coming from inside the house.
It is. It is.
Yeah. I've been through a lot of therapists in my life, and that's partly due to a function of us moving a lot for a decade. We moved what, like 4 times in 6 years, something like that.
Yeah, something like
And
that. Yeah.
and this was obviously before telehealth was a thing. So I would pick a therapist while we were in the area. And right about the time we were starting to really develop a rapport, we'd have to bounce.
Hmm.
And I did my best to try and take in what lessons and advice I could from them while I had them. But it's like everything else, you have to do the work yourself. They can poke, they can prompt, they can guide, they can suggest, but ultimately it's got to be you that does it. And it had to be me. And I think that's why maybe things didn't take with me for the longest time with the different therapists. I don't know if I wasn't ready or if I was just unwilling to make the changes that I did, but doing this program on my own, obviously with the guidance of the people who provide the ketamine and the program and all that, doing so much of it on my own has been so immensely helpful in a way that traditional therapy just wasn't for me at the time.
Well, and that's a great point about it because the program that you're on, it's very much self-guided. It's anything you have with your coaches and with the therapist and the psychiatrist working you through it, it's all remote. So this is something that is accessible regardless of the weather, regardless of who is around you. Like you do this in our home. I am the
Mhm.
person watching you to make sure you are safe and checking in on you every 10 minutes while you're doing this just to see what's going on.
Right.
But this is you. This is accessible to you. And you have to learn to listen to you and to deal with you in it.
Mhm.
More so than another therapist, you have to actually face yourself.
Yeah, and that has always been a challenge for me.
Mm.
And this has been good for me in that aspect in particular, making myself be a real adult and treat myself that way.
Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Always treat yourself.
Always.
Yeah. And it is. And going back to one of the other things you were saying, the calls come from inside of the house. You have to treat yourself as an adult. So much of this that I like is what rings true with me about a lot of other therapy approaches and modalities. You want to be healthy. Your brain
Yeah.
wants to be healthy. Your body wants to be healthy. But we have to create an environment that lets you move towards health. It's like the bonsai cats. Remember the bonsai cats?
Oh my
Love that.
god,
Oh,
yes.
love the bonsai cats. It was such a joke. It was clearly not real, but everyone was freaked out about it because you would take cats and you would put them when they were kittens, and cats are fluid states. So you would put them in glass containers and you would raise them in the containers, and the cats would form to these containers. And it was such an internet joke and it freaked people out. But that's that feeling of if you are trying to shove this perfectly healthy human brain into this messed up, unhealthy, not safe environment and saying, okay, grow there. This is where you live. Stay there. It's not going to come out healthy. It's going to want
Yeah.
to be healthy. But as long as you're in that glass jar, it's not going to be healthy. You have to
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah. I feel like after a while I grew into like a state of learned helplessness. I after we moved back here and I opened up the salon at the house, all I was doing was working and I didn't see a way out of that. So I needed to address how I was coping with the situation because I wasn't ready to change the situation at work because I was starting a new business. I had to say yes to everybody, that sort of thing. So I had to learn how to cope with it better
Mhm.
than I currently was.
And cope with it in a healthier way. Recognize that you do want to say yes to a lot of people, but you also had the right to say no.
Yeah.
There's a limit to what you can do, and there's a limit to what we need to do.
Yeah, and I feel like I finally am getting better with that, setting setting the schedule up for next year. It's not crazy packed overloaded like this year's was, like last year's was, and how many years I've been saying, "Oh, next year will be better. Next year will be better." I feel like I am finally to the point where I can think enough of myself to stand up for myself and say, "No, I can't work more than 50 to 55 hours a week, which I grant you that doesn't sound terribly healthy. It's a big step for me.
It's an improvement. It's an improvement. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and considering we moved up here because I was working 60, 70 hours every week down in Virginia, it's like, no, we need a life. Even if we're doing nothing but sitting at home on our own couch in the evenings, we need a life.
hmm Or sitting in an office and a dining room table
We'll hit the
together.
couch later. We got this. We
Yes,
got this.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, there's a big piece in what you said there in finding your own value and not just the value of making other people happy, saying yes, doing that service to them, but saying, I can say no, and that doesn't diminish me.
Yeah.
You being able to actually say that is huge for you.
Yeah,
This is
it is.
years. Mhm.
Yeah. And I get that a lot of the people watching and listening to this don't realize what a
Mhm.
step that is for me. But you just gotta believe me when I say that this round of treatment that I have been doing has been so genuinely life altering to me, just in my day to day happiness and how I cope with and react to stresses and problems and not being so short sighted with, well, these three things went wrong this morning. The rest of the day is shot. No, no, things can absolutely get better. And I, yeah, it's
Mhm.
really, it's been a wonderful thing for me. And I am so glad that you suggested that I try it.
Mhm. 'Cause I had known about it, and I was reading about it, and I was seeing things about it, and then I actually met someone that was going through it, and I talked to them, and they started it, and I talked to it again, and the difference was so amazing. I'm like, "Well, this is possible, and this program is actually accessible to us."
Yeah,
It can be hard, it is still a very expensive thing. You can
it
get
is.
insurance to cover some forms of it from a hospital, the ketamine, I don't remember how to say that word. It starts with an ES. So there is a form that the hospitals can give out here. There's like one doctor in Watertown that does it. But
Mhm.
a lot of these, like any of the IV ones down in Syracuse, this one that you're using, insurance won't cover it yet. So
Yeah.
it's getting there. There's another program that has some insurance, but it's still expensive. So there are still barriers, but it was just more accessible with the fact we both work way too much, and I'm still
Yes.
working on cutting that down.
Mhm.
We can work more. We can work more hours and try this program and learn not to work as many hours because, dear Lord, it has made such a difference. It really
Yeah.
has.
And one other thing I didn't think to mention until just now, there have been no side effects. None.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
had a lot of tough times with different antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, all the usual stuff that you see with that sort of thing. Anyone who's been on those medications, and a lot of people have,
Mm.
know that you can have a lot of problems with it. I have not had a single bad side effect from these treatments. I'm pretty groggy for the rest of the evening, and that's to be expected, I think. And that's also, again, why I just do them at night. I do the treatment. I might stay up for half an hour and then I go to sleep.
Mm.
Nothing, nothing bad happens to me.
Yeah. I mean, and those are the biggest side effects is the fatigue, and it can make you nauseous. So they do give you anti-nausea medication. Gotta
Yeah.
love the Zofran, which I steal for my migraines because you don't need it for yours because you don't get nauseous with it. Yeah.
I never did. I took the anti-nausea meds for the first, I don't know, maybe half a dozen treatments. And then I think I
Mm.
forgot. They say you're supposed to take it an hour before. I think I forgot one day. So I took it at the same time. And then, why am I doing this? It's fine. So
Yeah.
again, I never had a problem with the nausea.
And even the way they do these treatments, like this is, it's self-monitored. She trusts her wife to monitor her while she's doing
Mhm.
this. But the lozenges, I'll slow it down so I will say it right and still get it wrong. They have additives to them. So it's not a pleasant flavor. So you're trying to keep it off your
No,
tongue. Not
it's
a good flavor.
gross.
Yeah. And if you swallow it, it will make you sick. Like,
Mhm.
you have to sit there and hold it in your mouth for a set amount of time and then spit it out. and then not dump it down the drain. You dump it in with like your cat litter or something because they just don't want it in the water supply, which is a good thing. But
Mhm.
it's designed so that it is hard to abuse.
Yeah.
I'll never put it past if people because people are very inventive and they will find ways to do everything, but it is hard to use wrong. They want you to use this for medicine.
Yeah, and these dosages are not what people would take to have a good time. I mean, if the house caught on fire in the middle of a treatment, I could get up and walk downstairs and walk out the door. I might be a little stumbly, but I'm not completely out of commission. I'm not completely incoherent. I mean, there have been times that my body decides to fight the ketamine and be aware of things around me. And so it's the dosages are very safe and they will start you out slow and build you up and until you hit what is a good working level for you.
Right. Like it's above a microdose because there is an effect. You are supposed to have some light dissociation. So
Mhm.
microdosing, if you're looking at traditional microdosing, it's supposed to be sub-threshold. You're not really supposed to notice anything. That
Okay.
level will still give you the neural effects. It will still help with the dendritic growth. It will still help with that processing and all of that. But it is more therapeutic to also add in that slight dissociation and allowing you to have that hold that intention in your mind. And what does your brain do with this intention when you are holding that in this state? What comes up? What does it let you think of? So it wants that just above that threshold level, but it does not go to the point of you are high, you are at a
Yeah.
party, you are incoherent, you are unable to do it. I mean, when I check in on you, you look like you're napping, but you're not really asleep. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you're
except
aware.
except like one time except that one time I did fall asleep, but
And once
I was real tired.
yeah, that was not prepared appropriately. You
Mhm.
were very tired for that one, but no, you're
Yeah.
normally you're incredibly aware every time I open the door.
Yes, I am most of the time very aware of the fact that you are coming in, but that slight dissociation that you're talking about is in and of itself very helpful because I remember I wanna say on my 3rd or 4th session, I heard a noise. I wear my AirPods and I listen to the music and whatever, but I can usually hear loud noises that are happening in the house. I heard a loud noise and I thought, I should be concerned about that. No, Megan's got that. I don't need to worry about that. And again, if you don't know me, you don't know what a big thing that is for me to hear a noise, be aware of it, and not feel the need to think about it, to investigate it, to make sure everything is okay because I am a very jumpy, anxious person like
Mhm.
that. I assume every noise I hear at night is a hook-handed killer coming to murder me. So that
It's true.
slight floaty feeling is just it's so easy. It makes it so easy for me to say, no, it's fine. I can sit here and focus on this. I don't need to worry about what's going on outside of this space right now.
Mhm. And that is so perfect because if we talked about anxiety before. If you let yourself do that and not jump to the checking and the fixing and the compulsive behaviors to make the anxiety go away, that's what actually decreases the anxiety. You heard the noise is like, oh, yeah, well, let it be. I'll be fine. That's what actually lets you get through it more easily than if I go running after every noise with the axe in the corner of our room just to help me feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm an enabler
And
sometimes.
sometimes. I mean, it's not perfect. I'm still, if I hear random noises throughout the day, I'm still gonna the heck was that? But it's not that jump in my chest sort of what what was that? What was that? It's getting better.
Yeah. And it is a world of difference because you're safe. I don't
Yeah.
have to work extra to do everything I can to prove you're safe. You know you are. You know I'm there for you. You know you're there for you. You know we got those.
Yeah. Because there would be times that me, an adult, would I would make you get up and
Mhm,
investigate what a noise was because I would be so freaked out. And I knew it was irrational. I'm not stupid. I know
mhm,
that 99% of the time it's going to be absolutely nothing. The other 1% of the time it'll be that we forgot to put the cat in the basement.
mhm.
But I can't think of the last time that had to be a thing
Yeah.
here.
No, it's been a while. like you said, you started this about a year ago. I don't think I've done that in the past year. I don't think I've had to.
No,
Yeah.
no, certainly not the last year.
Yeah. So anything else you can think of that we haven't talked about? Anything else you want to share about ketamine or your treatments?
Um, I was very hesitant to try ketamine. I don't want to say I had to be talked into it, but I kind of did. I had to be pushed
Mm.
to trying it because I was so afraid of hallucinations and freaking out and not being able to control my reaction to it. And I am glad that I gave it a shot because really just a wonderful, it's really just been a wonderful experience for me.
Mm.
It's not been a scary thing, despite my nervousness about it. It's it's done nothing but great things for me. And I really do recommend people get beyond that. But I don't want to I don't want to take drugs. I don't want to take drugs that are going to make me see things or be scary or be a hallucinogen or anything like that. Give it a shot.
Mm.
Really. It's I'm sure it's not for everybody. Nothing is, but this has been great for me. I cannot overstate how much has improved my mental health.
Mhm. Yeah, and if it is for you, if you are curious, there's definitely a lot of places out there. The biggest thing with every place trying to sell it so much is there's a lot of research out there on it. A lot of places are doing research. They have research. The data is there for you to read it, to look at it, to explore it, to get your own comfort level and your own sense of it, and see, does this fit with you? Does this not fit with you? Do you have more questions? It's out there. And I like over preparing and overdoing things when anything is new. So I read a lot of this research when I was looking into this for Casey, a lot of it. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You being so sure of the science is a big part of what made me comfortable with trying
Mhm.
it because you are a logical, sensible, educated person. You would not let me do a thing that could potentially be bad for
Mhm.
me.
I'm also very skeptical and very protective because I would check the entire house for Casey, even though I knew it was the cat.
I know. You're a saint to put up with me, truly.
Yeah, I love you. That's what I do.
You're very sweet. I love you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for being my replacement Jess for the evening. I love talking to you anyway, but it's fun to kind of pull you on the podcast since I talk about you a lot on here, as you know.
I'm very happy to sub in and this was a good thing for me because there are hardly any people in my life that know that I have done this sort of treatment and I have intentionally done that because I don't know how people would feel about it.
That's
I
true.
really don't. So, but cat's out of the bag now. I've been doing ketamine for a year and it
Hmm.
made me a happier, healthier person.
Hmm. And you know what? That's enough. That's good enough for me.
Hmm.
So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, loves. I do.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
And you are. And just hopefully you will get things back on track, including your internet and your hay barn. Again, I will put the link to her post, probably the same one because it was on Facebook. I'll put the link in the show notes. And thank you all so much for joining us again. If you stumbled on this, you can stumble on us again. We are at the Healing Pod on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We have a TikTok in the Healing Pod that I am horrible at, just occasionally updates. She's good. She's the one that does all our other social media. We're on Facebook, website. There's the links in the show notes. If you need any of them, I put the links in there, how to find us. But we're pretty easy to Google stock.
Hmm.
It's 2024. You can find people if you're looking for us.
If you
So
found us here, you can find us elsewhere.
exactly. So thank you so much again, Casey. Thank you, everyone else. And we will talk to you all soon.
All right. See you on the
Bye.
couch.
Yes.